Hey, Kyle.
Oh, here we go again.
Oh, we're here again.
I just loved being by you so much, we had to do it again.
Yeah, you force me to do it every month now.
I know, once a month.
Okay, so you really need to wear deodorant next time, though?
My bad. Anyway, so we have the seat over here again. It's empty again.
It is.
As we can tell. So that means we have another guest. We've come to the conclusion that this is going to be a pretty regular thing now. Once a month, it'll be just us, you and I. And then once a month, we're going to have a pretty sweet guest on here. Yep. So be on the lookout for that. So I think let's introduce our next...
Who do we have, Kyle?
Drum roll, please. So we want to introduce our good friend Grant. So come on in, Grant. Take a seat.
What's going on, Grant?
Hey, guys.
Oh, don't knock over everything, man.
I'm graceful. Okay.
So, Grant, welcome to the Kelp Ed, finally.
Thank you. Yeah, the ambiance is great.
And one of our really good friends and one of our best fanboys out there.
Oh, yeah. Number one.
So, you've been following us for a while, and I think you've seen the episode with our good friend Steven. So, start it out. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you like.
All right. My name's Grant Musso. I'm 23 years old. I'm not super interesting. I'm really into photography. That's like my deal. Photography is really interesting. But besides that, I feel like I'm just a pretty average guy that has ambitious goals to go out,
You're not
travel the world.
This guy. He says he's friggin' average in this dude. So, Grant, you're one of the few people that I know that goes on crazy adventures by themselves, out of nowhere. So, what was the most recent thing you did? I can't even...
So the most recent solo adventure I had was just up to Seattle. It was actually last year. It was last July, and I was bored. I was sitting in work, and I'm like, I have to leave. So I was like, I haven't been to Seattle, and they have 3 national parks up there. So I was like, why not just go up there, bang the 3 out in a weekend, and come back? And that was an incredible
you literally just booked a flight. Just like, let's go.
Yeah, it was super cheap. I bought it with miles.
So cool.
And then I got an Airbnb. I had like an entire apartment for like $100 a night.
Nice.
So yeah, it was really cool.
Nice.
And then I used Toro. This isn't a sponsored ad or anything, but it was really cool. Like way to just rent a car for a day
and then just go. That's awesome.
That's super cool.
It was really, really awesome. So I do stuff like that. I did the same thing with Iceland.
Nice. Yeah, you talk about Iceland because that was like your first big one, right? Like that was because I remember you were still pretty young when you were just like
yeah, that was my first time really leaving the country. My parents don't like to travel, so
yeah, your parents they're
staycationers.
Funny.
So yeah, I had an irrational decision to buy one in like September, and so I bought a ticket, and then I actually forgot about it. And I got a reminder, I think it was in February of that next year. It goes, hey, just coming up, you have some flight details. I think my flight got canceled and I have to redo some stuff. And I'm like, oh, wait, so I'm actually going. I have to figure out, where to live or where to stay, what to do.
Yeah,
that's funny.
And I was like, I guess the cheapest and most affordable way was just rent a van.
Yeah.
And travel Iceland that way. And so I got the last van that the company I rented from had.
Damn.
And it was literally maybe the size of this table.
Huh.
It was tiny. It was
it's like a little...
Prius.
Yeah.
But I was living out of it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The first night was pretty rough. I hadn't slept in 40-something hours.
Oh, and you just flew halfway across the globe, so the time changes are all crazy weird up there.
I took a nap at 7 o'clock at night, and so Iceland's almost in the Arctic Circle, not really. So I think the sunset when I went was at 11:30.
Yeah.
And so I took a nap at 7 p.m. and I woke up at 9 p.m. and it was still light out, and I was like, where am I? And I was about to call my dad and be like, I'm coming home, but then I was like, I just need to go on a ride, clear my head, and I just left the city of Reykjavik, and I'm looking over the ocean, and literally the most beautiful sunset I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Just rays coming down. It was golden, and I was just like, I'm in Iceland,
I gotta do it, man.
This is a once in a lifetime experience. And from then on out, it was pretty much smooth sailing. Nice. I got to see a lot of really cool stuff. Went inside of a volcano.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it was sick.
Did you see the black sand beaches?
Yeah, so that was one of the first places I went, and it was pretty cool. it was like kind of touristy.
Really?
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Iceland's
A
pretty
lot of the
small.
places in Iceland, there's something called the Ring Road, which is basically a road that goes around the circumference of the country. And so I just drove that, and then basically I'd wake up in the morning, I'd see what major city I had to drive to next, and that's where I was camping, and then I would like base what I was seeing off of like what was on the way. And I also, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, my favorite movie of all time. And one of the scenes is him like skateboarding
down that, like when the volcano's like exploding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've been on that road?
I literally drove like 5 hours out of the way
Just
to
to-
make sure
That's awesome.
I
So
drove
cool.
down that road. And that was surreal. I wish I had a longboard for it. But yeah, it was an incredible experience. I had a lot of fun. And I need to go back. There's like a bunch of photos now people take of the aerials of like the rivers and the glaciers, which are the most incredible colors, and
Those crazy blues and stuff like that.
they're
Yeah.
amazing, just the way they look. So eventually I'll be able to take photos of that.
Nice. Well, I know Iceland is a crazy. I mean, the community there behind the ocean and stuff like that. Did you see? And when you visited these black sands, you said it was really touristy. Like, what kind of impact were you seeing on that, or like, what was the culture like there different from ours that you see on a coastal? Because we're all from Ventura County, so it's like
It's actually pretty. I have some cool stories actually about that. So some of like the main cities are kind of like if you were going to Ventura. Obviously, it's like a different architecture, right? So it looks different,
Right.
But it's the same kind of vibe where it's like a small little beach town. Everyone was super friendly there, but there was this one part on the western or the eastern fjords that you drive around. Like I think they call them like the fingers. And so you're driving in and out of these little peninsulas, and there's all these small little fishing villages, which are the coolest thing ever. And so I was hungry, and I obviously, and I just yelped like a restaurant near me, and there was one restaurant in this entire village.
oh damn,
And I pull up, and it's literally some guy's like house. Like I walk into
like his living room. Almost?
his living room almost, and he
Jeez.
has like 3 tables, 2 chairs each, and his kitchen is just like a normal kitchen,
That's
a
kinda
small
cool, though.
kitchen.
Yeah.
And so he like came out, and like we were talking, and he's like, what do you want? And I'm like, listen, I've never been here before. Like, make me something cool. And so he made me like this fish stew. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, I mean, it was interesting, but it was just really cool. I've never had like an intimate experience like that.
Yeah.
And Iceland's a lot of it's like that. It's pretty touristy. But it's still such a small country
Yeah,
that it's amazing.
it's freaking awesome. And like, so you said it was like a small fish stew. Did he like, I'm going to take it, he probably caught that fish and it's like straight from him to table, or is it like,
I would honestly assume so, because
Yeah.
it was right there, like on the harbor or wherever it was.
yeah.
awesome.
And yeah, I mean, the entire place reeked like rotten fish.
Sorry, man, your place stinks, but you make good food.
Yeah, it wasn't like his house, but like the entire. It was so cool. It's hard to. What I've realized is it's really hard to describe like these interesting experiences to people that haven't witnessed it for themselves.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why you got into photography?
Yeah. So, and that's a funny thing about like photography, and at least like the photos that I take is I'll go out and I'll shoot, like we were talking earlier about the dunes, right?
Yeah.
I probably have 20 to 21, like I'll say Insta-worthy pictures, but
Yeah.
only like 10 print-worthy pictures, right? But I think I took like 2,000 photos from that day, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's really hard for me to find something that I'm like, this is worth sharing. But also there's so many times where like I see something beautiful and I'm just like, I'm not going to take a picture.
Really?
Because like there's no way I can take it and then I'll do it justice.
Yeah, and express the
Right.
feelings that you felt from it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
That makes
really,
sense.
So from Secret Life of Walter Mitty, my favorite quote of all time, it's like the only one I have written down, is beautiful things don't ask for attention. So sometimes when you're living in the moment and you see something beautiful, it's just better to like take it, process it, and I don't know, enjoy that moment for yourself because it's just you in that
for
moment,
sure. Yeah.
rather than trying to worry about, because even when I'm taking a photo, like I'm living in the moment, but I'm also worrying about like, okay, what's the lighting? What are my settings?
Focus and
Yeah. And then also like, what do I want it to look like at the end? Because obviously there's an end goal, and I can do a little with post, and I try to keep it pretty mellow, but you know, there's a vision. And so it's nice to always just be able to relax and just look at something and be like, this is
yeah,
it.
that's sick. So that's really what we're about, is like that disconnect. Like we go to the beach often. It's like, I've been to the beach with you a lot. We've been diving a couple times, and it's like, we purposefully like set stuff aside, and we're just like, nah, like it's just, this is our time. This is where it's at. And like, I can really share with you on that feeling. It's just like when I go in the water, everyone's like, oh, put your GoPro on and take pictures and like show us what you see and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't, you know, that's kind of like my little zone, you know, it's like, I will bring people every day of the week. I've thrown you in the water in the craziest conditions. Like, you know what I mean? Like I take people and do some dumb stuff, but you came out of there sometimes and you're like, whoa, like, you know, I love sharing that in person and showing that rather than like, here's my GoPro video on my iPhone, you know, like, so that's huge. That's powerful. And I definitely, I'm right there with you, man.
I've had a couple friends that like will go on like a trip or something, maybe up to like Mammoth, and they're like, why didn't you bring your camera? I'm just like, I'm just going to try to enjoy things.
Yeah,
like I'm not going to work on, but then I'll have like entire other trips. Like I have a couple planned for like this winter, where it's just going to be me and my camera, and we're just going to be shooting and creating new content, you know, because obviously that's a passion and a creative release for myself.
Yeah.
And so, I love that.
Yeah, you almost have to plan two different types of trips.
Exactly.
You have to plan a photography trip, and then you have to plan just a trip for yourself, just to see everything.
Yes. And so I'm going to hate my friends, and if they're seeing this, I'm sorry. But so after I went to Iceland, right? So that was I would consider that like a photography trip, right? Just me and my camera, and I was there to take photos and like have new experiences. And then a month later, me and 4 of my friends, we went to Europe for like a month. And I brought my camera, and I literally lugged around this camera because it's super expensive, right? I'm not going to leave it in an Airbnb. It's going to get jacked. Yeah. But I brought a Polaroid, right? And I have these photos. I'll see if I can send them to you guys. It's like all of us were all done. We're like completely wasted. And these were the only photos like I took this trip like on the camera. And it's just all of us in Rome, our last night. And we're just like firing off because I'm like, guys, I have these like Polaroid pictures that this point, we have to go. And so I have like a little stack
That's awesome.
of Polaroid pictures of just us just taking random stuff. Because like, I don't know, like when you're with your friends, you know, there's a lot other stuff that, you know, maybe they want to do. Like I don't drink, but like they wanted to go to the Heineken factory and go out to bars and that kind of stuff. And like, that's great, but what am I going to do? Take a picture of you drinking, you know?
Yeah.
While me, I'd rather go to like Tuscany and walk through the vineyards.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know? So you definitely have to distinguish the difference between those two. And that's why, honestly, for the most part, like most of my trips in the future are most likely just going to be by myself, just because it's easier. I'm the only one.
Yeah, you're only worrying about one thing.
Yeah, I only have to worry about myself and basically surviving.
Right.
So I'm hoping New Zealand. That's next.
Whoa, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Well, you've been to
the Philippines.
The Philippines, yeah. So you did a crazy project in the Philippines too.
Yeah. That's actually a really cool story. So one of my professors at Chapman, great man, Michael Ross.
Shout out Michael Ross.
Yeah, he's the best guy in the entire world. And I was just talking to him at like July. And he goes, yeah, so I'm going to the Philippines in January if you want to come. I'm like, duh. He goes, we're going to be swimming with whale sharks. And I'm like, I'm in.
Whoa.
I mean, we'll get to there.
Okay.
We'll get to there. It's a story.
Yeah,
there's a story.
You didn't tell me about that part, dude.
Yeah. Come on. So, we went there. And it was actually with a documentary class.
Right.
So that was the entire point, was we were supposed to film a documentary. And so I'm like, I think there was one comms person, and then I'm a business major. Everyone else were film and doc. So
you're the one business guy.
Yeah, it was just it was a little awkward because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm literally here just to go to the Philippines. And before we left, because it's a class, they gave us like 7 different topics to choose from. And one of the topics was documenting a National Geographic underwater photographer. And I'm like, that's my dream. And everyone in my doc class was like, no, that's not a good story. Like, there's no there's no like they wanted like the emotional
what's not emotional about the ocean?
It just they wanted like the heart throbby, you know,
romance type thing.
Yeah. So so that got nicked, which was really sad, but I still was able to see some really cool stuff. So we started in Manila, and that's definitely different city that I've ever been to. Different from anything I've ever seen here. But then after we went to Cebu, which is an island just like 2 hours south by plane, and I went swimming with whale sharks, which was easily one of a whale shark.
So, I mean,
wasn't whale sharks.
Does that make?
And it was a baby, which it was still, I think, 20 feet long.
Jesus Christ.
And because we were with the school, they made us wear life vests, which to me, like, I've been swimming, I've been surfing, I've been diving,
scuba.
I know how to. I know how to swim. Yeah. Like, I was actually kind of like taken back. I was like, really? But so yeah, they made us wear these life vests, and so I'm just sitting there floating at the top. I'm like, this is just humiliating. This is horrible. So I'm like, let me just see if I can kick down. They weren't very good life vests, so I was actually able to kick down to like 20 feet. And I remember I kicked down, and all of a sudden, I have a picture. I had a disposable underwater disposal
camera. Nice.
The photo's horrible, but I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it got dark, and I look up, and I start floating up, and the whale shark is right over me. And I obviously don't want to touch it because I don't want to disturb it and respect the wildlife.
Yeah.
But that was, it's hard to explain that feeling of like looking up and seeing a fish that's 20 feet long just
3 times
casually
the size.
just floating over you like it's nothing. You know, this is just another day for him and an incredible experience for me. And after that, so I guess I've lied. So my parents have taken me to like the Bahamas.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not really out of the country.
Like the ultimate tourist. Like
yeah,
the
it's not out of the
Bahamas.
country. Like we didn't leave the resort. Okay, but every time I've gone there, I've seen turtles, and I've always wanted to go swimming with turtles. It's like my dream. I think they're the coolest animals of all time. And after they told us we were going to go to like this turtle island, and I went swimming with like 5 different turtles, and
so cool.
I was almost brought to tears. It was one of the greatest experiences because they're like majestic beings.
They just like. I don't even know what's the word.
Chill.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they just chill. They literally go like
I can't even
this.
think of the word of like how they move because they're just like,
and they somehow cruise at like 10 miles an hour just doing this.
They like when you see them on film and TV, you're like, oh, he's just like moseying along, and then when you're in the water and they're just like, you're like,
yes,
whoa, like okay, dude, you're gone. Like
it was amazing. I got some cool photos. Again, underwater disposable camera, so it's not the best quality, but it was really cool to like have just like a goal of mine met. Like that's a bucket list item checked off the list, and I guess whale sharks too. But yeah, that was awesome, and I've seen them before, but I've never gotten to swim with them.
Yeah,
so it was a great experience.
Yeah, the few times I haven't seen a whale shark, and I almost had the opportunity with Sport Chalet when we had our dive trips.
Yeah,
we were about to go to Cozumel, and then Sport Chalet was just like, no, sorry, we're closing down, and I was just like, it was like 3 weeks before we were supposed to leave on the trip, and like it was all paid for, and I was like, we're going to Cozumel. I'm like, I'm going to Cozumel.
I remember everyone talked about that trip.
All going on that trip, the whole dive department, and then they're like, oh, Sport Chalet's bankrupt. We're closing down.
So
dang it.
I was in the middle of getting my dive certification when that happened.
That's right.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. I mean, probably I am.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get anyone in trouble.
You're not going to do it. The company's been dead for 5 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not going to say any names. But basically, I was only like 3 dives into my certification.
Yeah. And we just wrote you off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, you guys are the best. I literally, my dive photo is so funny because I ran over to CVS.
Yeah.
My hair's all like out of whack. I'm wearing my Sport Chalet shirt.
Okay, funny story about your hair. This is the greatest thing, knowing you when you were like 19 years old working for me at Sport Chalet. This kid, he would come into work late and I'm like, where are you, man? He's like, oh, surfing. I'm trying to get my hair bleached. I'm like, you're trying to get your hair? What do you, what? And he's like, yeah, man, I just want that surfer look. And I'm like, you what? But this kid, you were so dedicated to it. You were out surfing every day on your foam board and killing it. And your hair wouldn't go blonde. And you were finally like, I don't
know what happened. I was a god on the Costco soft top. I've tried to ride them now, and like I'm still pretty good on it. But like senior year of high school, I was on another level. I probably could have gone pro for soft top riding.
Hell yeah.
I just want to put that out there.
Sponsored by Costco.
Yeah, literally.
Kirkland Reynolds.
Kirkland wetsuit.
Oh man, that'd be
Yeah.
rich.
That's awesome.
But you were hardcore for that stuff. And I remember when you were wanting to get into the dive and we were trying to get you into scuba.
Yeah.
And it was such a battle because your mom was so against it. And I was trying to convince your family and you were already like sold on it, right?
Yes, I'm sold on anything new. Anything new, I'll do. Like literally anything.
Yeah. And it showed, and like I think that's why when we saw you diving in the water, it was just natural. We're like, okay, we don't have enough to worry about. When I was auditing your classes in the open water, I was in the pool with you guys once, and I went on the beach dive with you guys, and it was like literally like Tom and I didn't even look at you. We were just like, it's grand, he's fine.
I miss Tom. He was such a great man.
Sportsly all together. We said it like a couple episodes ago. We were like, this is God, we miss it so much.
That was easily the best first job I could have ever had in my entire life, and I'm so glad, and I hope one day my kids are able to have a similar
cool
job.
Like that, yeah,
because I mean, there was just so much stuff, it fit my personality.
Yeah. Well, we walked away with so many friends with that. I mean, It's been 7 years. We're still friends, and it's like Steven, we're still friends with him, and it's like that was so long ago.
Yeah,
a lot of them fell off, but it's like to the point where we can do cool stuff like this, and we still see, and like now you're getting huge into photography, and it's like we're seeing all those connections and stuff. It's freaking cool. Like that's what I miss about Sports Relay so much is those connections.
And it was great for like Chris, because Chris was the one that was like, hey, I know you're really into GoPro. Like, do you want to teach this class?
Yeah.
And that was, to me, that was like my first really like
big
moment where I was just like, this is something I'm passionate about, like this is a passion, and now I get to teach people about it.
Yeah.
I'm in,
Yeah. Well, I remember you were obsessed with GoPros. We had that one dive day. It was like, it was like Emma Wood. You were there too. And we took you, and all you had was my split fins, like a Sports Relay rental suit.
That's right.
And you had your selfie stick with the GoPro on it, and I think you and I were the only ones with spear guns at the time.
I still have that photo.
Oh, you sick, dude?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I'll try to send them to you, so maybe
That's
you can put them on.
Yeah. And it was, you were so amped just to get in the water, and that was like, that moment right there for me is what I enjoy the crap out of the ocean, is because like seeing people's face like change, like on the beach, they're just like, all right, yeah, this is cool. And then when we get out after like 4 hours, like people are usually like wrecked, like exhausted, but they're just like, this is the coolest thing.
It's a high.
Yeah.
There's some weird high that comes with being in the ocean. At least that's what I've noticed. Mm-hmm. I've gotten 2 tickets because of it. Like I literally get out of the water surfing, and I'm just cruising down PCH going home, living a movie. Like my life is a movie. And next thing I know, there's sirens behind me. He goes, do you realize how fast you're going? I'm like, no, dude, I thought I was like still at Leo Carrillo. I didn't realize I'm at Decker Canyon.
Already there.
Like I'm checked out just driving, Yeah. And yeah, I almost had it ruined for me. And my first time was actually my boat dive. When I was getting certified, they took us out to Anacapa.
Yeah.
And we were coming out of the harbor, and there were literally 13-foot waves coming in. The boat went completely vertical.
Oh, was this out of Channel Islands Harbor?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was the gnarliest experience.
They still took you out?
They still took...
Really?
Well, yes. I think it was right when Sports Relay got the word that they were going to be closing.
Oh, and they were trying to push everyone in.
And they were trying to push everyone out. And our dives we had 2 boat dives already canceled. And so everyone's throwing up around me. I don't get motion sickness, but I'm sitting there like, I think I'm sick. But it was the fact that everyone else, I had like some girl, she threw up the entire day. I felt so bad for her. Yeah. But she's literally, her guts are just gone. Like she was done. She was dry heaving, like coming out of the harbor.
Oh,
and so that was my experience. It was just like these huge turbulent waves the entire day, except when we went out to the islands. For some reason it broke right there.
Yeah.
Anacapa was really protected, which is epic.
It was still pretty cloudy, but I remember my first dive going down. This is my first time diving in the ocean. And I looked down, I'm like, wow, like it looks a lot more colorful and bright than I was expecting, right?
Yeah.
And the dive master goes down and he like puts his hand under, and they're all brittle starfish.
Yeah.
Which sound really cool, but they're actually really bad. They were like destroying.
They're invasive. They're crazy invasive.
But it was really cool to see like millions of starfish.
Yeah.
And I saw a huge, I think it was Dungeness crab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big old spiny thing, just like cruising down on the bottom. Yeah. Probably saw some Garibaldi.
I actually didn't see any.
You didn't see any
Yeah,
Garibaldi?
not there. I've seen them before.
Right.
But I didn't see any there.
Huh.
I saw like kelp bass and like some of the more
common
camouflaged
stuff. Sheep's
stuff.
head and calicos and
I saw some sheephead.
Yeah, sheep's head are I love sheep's head, but like
I have a couple stories about those too, or a story about them, but we can get to that later. But yeah, that was a really good experience. But I remember coming back the entire time I was on the boat. I was like, think of a happy place, think of a happy place. And this was like my first time ever having anxiety in my life. And so after that, I always thought I would be like seasick.
Yeah.
But then I realized it's all in my head, especially when I went to the Philippines and I'm like, I'm not taking any Dramamine. I'm not even close to sick.
Yeah. Dramamine just, it helps. Don't get me wrong. But like for me, it's just, you get this weird, it's like almost like a weird buzzing feeling. You just kind of just don't feel like normal, but you don't feel sick. So I guess it's like you pick your poison, right?
So I went diving in Catalina once, and easily I've been diving in Turks and Caicos, and then for some reason I consider Catalina like its own,
the cream of the crop.
Yeah, it's like its own environment, right? Because it's an island, and yeah, you have like California animals and plants and stuff, but
mammal species.
But it's different. Like the environment out there is much different than it is here, and it's probably because there's a lot less people, and that kind of stuff.
California too, being a cold water, it's like it's a completely different. And I think that being said, like it's such a different environment as like Hawaii and Bali and all these places. It's like such a touristy. It's such a like, this is so beautiful photography that everyone's already exposed to it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost like it's so fresh down here. So it's like I think I kind of look at it that way. It's like you don't see that as nearly as often as you would like Finding Nemo status. You know,
that's exactly it. Yeah. And I don't know. Growing up, I never thought of California as having
beautiful beaches
or like these lush underwater environments that, you know, you're used to seeing pictures of like the tropics.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was completely wrong. Yeah. I mean, I can't even begin to describe like just the emotions of being down there. And I know that sounds a little dramatic, but I mean, when you're down there, right, and you see these kelp forests that are 40 feet high, and you're just swimming through it, it's like literally something out of a sci-fi movie. I don't know how else to describe it. It's
just like the sea turtles. It's
otherworldly.
Until you go there and see it, we can't put it in a picture for people. It's just it wouldn't do it justice.
Exactly. And like the animals there, I mean, a lot of them are built more for like, I don't know, hiding. They're green. They're
adapted to their environment.
You know? But you still have like the Garibaldi. You have like
this bright orange fish.
Right?
I don't know how natural selection hasn't wiped it out.
I don't quite understand that.
Mother Nature and God were just like, throw them in California.
But there's another one. It's like fluorescent purple and orange too.
A fish?
Yeah, it's like that big. It literally looks
like
out.
A Catalina goby or something like that.
Maybe you guys are probably more experienced than I am.
I'd have to look it up.
It's beautiful. It's incredible. But then like my friend Brooke and I, we were scuba diving, and she turns at me and she like points. And I mean, I'm just sitting over here. I literally felt like a little puppy, just like minding my own business, just looking at the ground. I was just happy to be there, right?
Mommy's tugging you along on your leash.
Yeah, that's exactly what. She's a master diver. Like this was maybe my 4th dive.
Yeah.
And I look up, and there's just this massive black mass just cruising through the kelp, and I don't know how to describe it. It was probably the size of this table, probably bigger.
Oh, it's probably bigger. I mean,
it was huge.
If we're talking about what we think you're talking about, it's a black sea bass, and those things, the average weight of a juvenile is like 400 pounds.
Yeah, they're big fish,
and they're very protected out here. So now we see them in huge numbers, and even on the front side of Anacapa, they actually have like a beacon that they pass by and they can measure, like, and it measures the size. Yeah, so it pings every second, and it can measure within that area how big that fish is and how many fish there are.
Yeah,
and in that one area, I think I don't know the exact numbers, but it's like a couple hundred black sea bass.
That's insane.
And they are like, I mean, Ken, we all know Ken, and he took me there we were on a boat, and I mean, it was like, we don't see any black sea bass, this kind of sucks. And then like, it was kind of a murky day, and all of a sudden, like, it was like the stallions were like riding in, like, it's just like these little VW beetles like coming at you. You're like, oh oh my God.
Yeah.
Am I going to be okay? Like, and you hear about these things like swallowing fish, not just like fish. Like,
no, they just open and consume.
Yeah, it's just huge. A vacuum.
Yeah.
And it's so intimidating, and everything out here puts you into such a crazy perspective. And we always talk about it, and it helps with that disconnect that we always like to bring up. It's like, dude, you are so it's like a sci-fi movie. It's otherworldly. It's so new and fresh. It creates this weird vacuum in time, I think, like for myself, that it's just like, you don't feel human. Like you just feel like an ant or a pawn, and you're just there watching a movie. Mm-hmm. Like
you also kind of feel like Lewis and Clark, you know, like they were discovering like a new world. Like you're discovering an underwater world. Yeah. That, I mean, for the most part, isn't really like, it's like what, 5% is mapped or something like that.
Like we just talked about this.
Yeah, I know.
Shoot, I think it was like 30%.
Yeah,
it's. I mean, it's.
But
just,
we know more about space on our moon than we do about our own oceans. That's what's scary.
It's incredible though, because it's just, that's what also is like so exciting, is that there's just so much more to learn.
Yeah,
like Planet Earth is easily my favorite program of all time. My grandpa used to watch it, and so I'd just sit down and I'd watch it with him. And like when they have like the Blue Planet, I just geek out on that. If I get bored, I just start watching it. Because it's amazing.
Well, that and having
David Attenborough.
Oh man, that is a gentleman. That man. Yeah. Every child knows every wilderness show movie is David Attenborough, but like he just adds that sizzle, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think of him when I'm in the water. It's, you know, and I think a lot of people have that misconception. And when they go into the water, it's, I'm going to Hawaii, or, you know, it's like that. Like, and that's why I encouraged you so much to get in the water. And that's why I'm always like getting at you, like, let's get the boat going, you know? It's because it's so, you see something new every time.
Every single time.
You can't not see something new, and you don't even have to search for it.
Yeah. It's literally, it's right there. I remember right after I went to Turks and Caicos, kind of after I got into diving. Mm-hmm. No, it was I was diving. So we went out a couple times. I was pretty good, I guess. Like I knew what I was doing. I could hold my breath for a good amount of time. Okay, I'm not a pro.
None of us here are pros at anything.
But I remember we took this boat out, and it was really nice because it was a private boat, and so we were like, please don't take us to where all the tourists go. Like, we're begging you. And so my parents and everyone's just like floating on top. And I'm like, I'm going to go down, you know? Like, there's some stuff down here. It's not up here. And I remember the boat captain goes, no, like, it's dangerous. Like, don't go like more than 10 feet. I'm like, no, like, I'm going. Yeah. And so I kicked down to like 45 feet, and under these reefs are like entire caves. Oh, yeah. And what was really cool is, like, you know, in Finding Nemo, in like one of the opening scenes, they have like the little highways with fish. Yeah. Swear, it was the exact same thing. Just, like, there were like lines, like organized lines of fish just like moving in and around each other. And the guy came down, because I mean, I would go down there and I just kind of hang out. I could hold my breath at the time for a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. I would come up, and the guy came up to me. He goes, dude, I thought you were dead. And I was like, no, don't worry. Like, I kind of know like what I'm doing. And he goes, okay, cool. Like, I'll be honest, most of the people we go out with, I don't get to like go down this deep. Yeah. So like, can I come with you? I'm like, yeah, of course. And so it was like this guy's first time in a really long time going down and like diving.
He's used to like pulling small family members or friends. Just
exactly.
All right, I gotta watch you and your floaties, you know.
And it was just so cool. And I went diving like the next day, and diving in Turks and Caicos, it's weird. It's incredible. I got certified out here, right? Yeah, certified. I'm in like a 7 mil wetsuit.
Yeah, I'm a 7/8.
I'm like, literally walking around like this. I look like the Michelin Man with absolutely zero 100%. Mobility, and I have the hood, right? And so like my face is all like this.
Yeah, we're all.
It's horrible.
When you come out and like, so mine's so thick around my wrists and stuff, my hands are like asleep.
Yes.
At it, and it's like, I know I help you every time out of your wetsuit, and you're helping
mine's
me.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah, freediving wetsuits, because they're skin suits.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm literally like, I think we were in my Lexus one time freediving, and I was like, Grant, help me.
Yeah.
You're like, you're just
yank it. Yeah. That's what happened when I was getting certified. I was like, please just pull this off of me. Yeah. And my instructor just went, yeet.
Yeah. The worst part is when people ask you to do that and they don't tell you how much piss is in there.
Oh, That's gross.
It's true.
I empty my booties first. I'm courteous.
Dude, but some people
I flush it out.
Some of the semi-dries, like mine, I have a semi-dry, so it's closed off at all the cuffs.
Oh.
So like I don't let anyone, and I'm a chest zip too. I have the nice bear.
Yeah.
So I'm like, people are like, do you need help? I'm like, you don't want to help. you just don't want to help.
Just let me go on by myself.
Yeah, let me do my thing. Like, and I'm in the back of the boat, like shimmying, like, hey, you know.
When I was diving in Turks and Caicos, though, like, no wetsuit. I was in a rash
just in
guard just
shorts.
to make sure I wasn't chafing. And it was weird to be down at 50 feet, which is usually pretty cold.
Yeah. And it's still probably what, like
and I'm like,
mid-60s?
honestly, higher. It was probably in the 70s.
That's crazy.
I didn't have a single goosebump on me.
Yeah.
And I'm like diving through like this little underwater like
It feels like
canyon,
in a
I
weird
guess.
bathtub, huh?
And there was like heat radiating off the reef. Like if I was cold, I'd just like go a little bit closer.
That makes me wonder if it's like if that's like I don't know if that's like a side effect of like how warm it's been to like now, because like just hearing about like seeing that at 50 foot,
Yeah.
you just imagine like how warm that must be, you know, or like what it might have been. I don't know.
The water right now, like I've been surfing for like the last week almost every day.
Yeah.
And the water is hot. Like my buddies and I got in the water, I think it was like Monday night, and it was at least 72 degrees. Like I was in a 3-2 and I was like, I need to take this off. I'm getting hot. You know? Like I was warm.
Yeah.
Which is scary in and of itself, because I mean, every time there's even a little bit of a swell, all of a sudden it's just like entire kelp beds are just washing out.
They're just gone.
On the store.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it's such an impact of everything. It's one, the rising temperature, it's our urchins, it's the sea stars, it's us as humans, you know, ripping it up. It's like it's such a,
and no one cares. I mean, because it doesn't affect us yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
They don't-
it
it's not their
honestly, it
day-to-day.
probably won't even affect us in our lifetime until maybe the end.
It's hard to say, and it's like it's kind of morbid, but like my Instagram bio is literally the future is our fault.
Yeah.
You know, whether you look at it as a positive or negative, it's our fault.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's our future, it's still our fault. If it's someone else's, it's hella our fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And if I would love for people that say, "Oh no, like it's no big deal," like go get in the water at Malibu First Point or C Street in the winter after it rains.
Yeah.
Every single time. Okay, I have a couple stories. Every time I go to C Street is almost blacklisted. Like I have a very small blacklist of just like in general like restaurants that I just will never go back to.
yeah.
Every single time I go into C Street in like December, I come out with either strep or pneumonia.
Yeah.
Every single time. And it's miserable because that's one of like the best breaks when it's cold.
Yeah.
And there's a good swell.
That's our, you know, all of our currents shift, and that's when our weird coastline, whichever way it faces, we get the best surf.
Picks up.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't go there, and Malibu, it's like First Point, Second Point. Most people just know First Point.
Yeah.
Used to be my favorite break because obviously it's world renowned and it goes forever.
Yeah.
And so I used to go there when I was bored, and I remember going out there. It was like a beautiful morning. I think it was already like 80 degrees, 9 o'clock in the morning, no wind, crystal clear, and it's a rocky beach, right? So the viz is amazing. And I remember like looking down, and I saw like this green bubble just like come up, like hold at the top, and then just like pop and disperse. And I was like, that's disgusting. Like, why am I in this water?
Yeah.
You know? And then I was on a wave, and the smell of either rotting bird poop or like just rotten something hit my nose so hard, I almost fell off. I was like, it took me back.
Oof.
And I was like, I just can't do this. So I got out, and I was like, I'm never coming back. And I mean, I'm pretty sure, what is it, like last year, 2 years ago, all the fish died in the lagoon?
I didn't hear about that.
I didn't hear about that.
You guys haven't? Oh, you guys should do some research on it. I did like some little research. I'm pretty sure everyone's trying to like sweep it under the rug.
Right.
Thousands of fish randomly died and got beached in the lagoon.
Jeez.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, rotting fish. It was horrible. I think some people said it was like rising water temperature.
It was probably an algae bloom.
It could have been an algae bloom.
Bloom.
Yeah.
Or, because I mean,
or
that's all
sewage
runoff.
Or, yeah. I mean,
it's disgusting.
it's sad too, is that we have to have like needle watches. Like you have to like watch where you step on the beach for needles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why we have to look for needles on a beach? That's
Especially
just
county.
Yeah, county line. Yeah, county line is, if it didn't have such a good place to fish, I just wouldn't even. It's so crowded every time too. It's just like
single time.
It's why people like County Line over.
It's a cult. It's literally
it's Neptune's Net. It's like it's just God.
It's just like anyone like.
But then you say, oh, let's go to Staircase, and they're like, where the hell is that? And I'm like, it's like a quarter mile to the left. What are you talking about? And they're like, whoa, this beach is so beautiful. I've never been here before. And I'm like, well, where do you hang out at the beach? They're like, I go to County Line every time. I'm like, yeah, you can see County Line. It's right there.
County Line's like the weird crack and meth heads. Zuma's the people from like
the Malibu. Yeah, and it's like your typical like high school like end of the day like
the Malibu like by the piers where like all the preppy hipsters and Instagram people want to go to get their picture.
Yeah.
And then all the beaches in between are just the people that just don't want to go to those beaches.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And now it's just slowly getting run out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a little sad, but
yeah. But I think at the same time, it might be looked at as a positive. It's like it sends us, and especially you, like going out and finding areas that are different and finding a different disconnect and maybe discovering something absolutely completely new.
Yeah.
So that's the way I might look at it. Is
my favorite thing last year, especially in January when we get like the king tides, we get like those -6 feet tides.
Yeah.
And in the morning, it's my favorite thing in the world. Morning or sunset, I start at Broad Beach and I walk all the way up to Leo Carrillo.
Yeah.
And then I walk back, and I usually bring like a little bag with me, and I can't tell you the amount of trash I bring back just on like 100%. My one walk.
Now imagine if all those people at County Line or at Zuma would pick up just one piece of trash when
or
they
just
were
not
there.
litter.
Or just not, or just pick up their own trash.
Yeah. But still, imagine how clean those beaches would be.
It's insane. But also tide pools are so sick.
Right?
Yeah.
They're actually incredible.
Yeah.
Because especially when you get to see those tides and you get to like see what's in them. I remember I took my ex-girlfriend, we were doing the same walk, and I know the tide pool things that aren't going to kill me, you know? You know, the things that aren't poisonous or aren't going to hurt me.
You're like, go put your finger in that little anemone.
So I had like a giant sea hare.
Oh, man.
And she's like, get that away from me. And I'm like, no, look! Like, it's just this big slug, right?
Did you get it to ink the pink?
I got inked 100%.
Yes.
It was disgusting.
Yeah, it's weird, dude.
But it was really cool, and like I was geeking out because I love animals and that kind of stuff. Just get away from me, like don't touch me.
That's freaking awesome.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, tide pools are dope.
Yeah, they're it's cool to be in an environment where we are here, and we have tide pools like everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like if it's not a tide pool, it's like little cracking rocks where you still see like a little tide pool. And I actually just discovered. God, I can't remember the name of the beach. Paradise Cove. I've never been down like to the bottom of that. Like,
really?
And it's the most cool cove. Like,
yeah, it's super cool.
Literally was like, it was like a couple weeks ago. A girlfriend took me there, and I'm like,
yeah,
what? Whoa! Like I was like a kid in a cannon. She's like, You've got this whole podcast about the ocean. You go diving all the time, and like you talk about the ocean. You're so cool, and you've never been here. And I'm like, no. Definitely not. And I think the problem was for me, it's protected.
Yeah.
It's a protected environment. So I'm like, I would never consider it to go there because I'm not going to get my fish.
Yeah.
That's my own fault. I limited myself. And it was like, dude, that was the coolest thing I've ever freaking seen. So
yeah,
I think that was sick, man. Thanks for coming on, man. Like, we definitely we're going to get out there more.
Me.
Like,
yeah.
So
this was really fun.
Sweet, man. Well, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being here, guys. We're definitely going to have Grant on here maybe another time. This kid's pretty awesome. So.
Yeah, I think we have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
So, but with that, we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Thank you, Grant. Appreciate it.